Good evening, kids. That's me and my complete lack of any skill on guitar. So I guess you can kind of treat this as the first real introduction video for the Deadweight Citizens Brigade project. And I'm sure, some people are wondering, Taylor, you're already a great stand-up comic. You've got a wildly successful podcast. Must you be a genius musician as well? The answer is yes. Actually, the answer to that is I'm not particularly good at any of those things. So what this project is, and what it's kind of grown into, what it started out as, actually, I kind of hate SNL and most sketch comedy that I find. I just don't find it particularly compelling, and but I kept thinking of all these different sketches that I could potentially do, and eventually I just thought, well, if this was going to be made, this is how I would want it to be made. But I like the idea of having, sketch comedy with music. And so I thought, well, nobody really kind of plays the music that I like, or plays music that I would like to see. Even if I do like it, I'd want to see this as well. So I figured, okay, well, why don't I just do it? Take, what's a complete lack of skill in any of those things to pure hubris. And so I thought of like all these videos and like different sketches that I could do and that kind of thing. And at the same time, yeah, I wrote this down. Sorry. I've really gotten into, gear and pedals and effects and the technical aspect of music. And, I think that came from watching Devin Townsend and, kind of his rigs, and then Mike Patton, just kind of his interesting setups that he's got. And and then I think too, in having the podcast, it kind of forced me to understand the basic aspects of recording, having a mixer and different kinds of microphones, and that really did turn into an obsession. And I figured so what I could turn it into would be like my version of SNL. Would be dark, sometimes surreal sketches, and you'd have it like in different media. So there would be some live, some done in video, some animation, some, I don't know why I said animation. Um, it'd be like improv, but it'd be like Robot Chicken and and Chappelle Show with like an aspect of like an independent music fest. And because I'm not that competent I'm not even at all not competent musician or particularly knowledgeable, I feel like there's kind of little to no pressure. None of my identity is like wrapped up in it, so I feel that it's kind of like cathartic in a way that stand-up isn't. So the kind of music that I'd be covering in this, and I am very slowly recording an album. Um, it's mostly covers, just because I don't know shit about writing music. Um, and there's a lot of different genres that we're covering. So there's punk and metal and fucking Slavic video game music. Like. So, there's one thing I'm very aware of, trying to do such an eclectic thing. Um, Not everybody is gonna like it, and I don't even mean for lack of skill, of which I have very precious little. I just mean, the span in music genres and kind of the themes of the sketches and shit like that. I understand it's just not going to be for everybody. And I've recruited a couple of people so far. One is my good buddy. Well, actually, I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that after. I'd love to perform live in various incarnations or pairings or whatever of the band around Vancouver, and that goes for the sketch element as well. I don't have a lot of written on paper, but I've got it kind of all in my head, and I just the crux of it is just getting it down. So if I die young or something, people can make an amazing documentary about my life story. And so like I said, and that would go for the sketch element as well. Once the record is done and released, and we've done some shows, I would really love to put together this, like a big show, big-ish, where, like a 2-hour show, where we would just kind of incorporate all these different elements of what this band, what this project is. So that means, we would open with music, and then we'd, have 20 minutes of sketches, and then kind of flip flop back and forth between those things, and I think that would be really cool, and I want to call on kind of some comedians who are friends, and other people kind of who are in the scene, see if they'd be interested. I do think there is a lot of potential for it, despite my inclusion, and I would love to see what it becomes. My quasi pseudo sort of almost philosophy behind the music and the comedy elements is that as darker or weirder or whatever it is, and we're doing like I said, but like probably about 80% covers. um, I won't commit to anything I can't stand behind, anything that I can't intellectually defend. So while we're recording Life is Pain by Leftover Crack, and they're a pretty incendiary band, I believe in the, or agree with that kind of point of view of that song, uh, but I'm not gonna record myself, screaming "kill cops, kill cops, kill cops," because I just don't. I like that song, but I can't get behind the message of it. And even the dark jokes or dark bits, I'll be able to defend them. And sometimes the defense will we're holding up a point of view that is just absurd. So I guess this next part would be for the gear sluts, the music nerds. I'll kind of do a very short gear rundown, and I've done a couple of them, but they always change just with new shit that I'm getting. So if you're not interested in that, you can fuck off at this point. But let me see what I got here. Well, I guess I don't need. Well, for vocals, I've got this Pile Pro, which is a knockoff of the Shure SM57, and typically I'm gonna have a kind of a multiple microphone setup, and this one will be connected to a TC Helicon X1 megaphone and distortion. And then I've also got a Samson Q2U, which is just a Shure SM58, and that would hook up to also a TC Helicon, a D1 delay one, similar to Mike Patton's setup in Phantomos. And I also want to get a CB mic, which I think would be really cool. Right now I've got an Apex 723, and it's honestly one of the best sounding mics that I've got. Now I'm debating still whether to set up my delay mic to that TC Helicon, or to set it up to my Moore Ocean machine, which I'll show you in a second. And sorry, that is really distracting me. I'm not good at multitasking. I'm a very serious monotasker. but I don't know. I mean, that's part of what you're hearing right now. That delay and reverb is set up through the Ocean Machine, and so I'm unsure if I would want that to be through that or my TC Helicon. I'm still figuring parts of this rig out. I also recently got a Shure SM78, or sorry, SMB 7B. Jesus Christ, that I've used a bit for my podcast, and it's really wonderful. So I'd probably be recording vocals with that in my studio. Now, as for guitar, I don't know what this is. It's was not mine. I took it from somebody who didn't want to use it anymore. But check that out. Emma Stone sticker, very important. It's 7-string. It's got or 6-string, 6-string. Has an okay paint job on it, with a peace sign because I'm very hippie. I've been told it has very good pickups in it, and I run that to an RP155 multi-effects processor. So that kind of no, you off. So that's where I'm getting kind of the distortion from. But I've also got oh bloody hell, a Roland amp, and that's also where I get. I'm still trying to figure out the sound that I want with my guitar, and I think I'm getting close to what I need. And there are a bunch of pedals that I'm looking at that I'd love to get some noisemaker effect stuff, some Boss, some Roland, I think. Dunlop, definitely. I would love to blow insane amounts of money on just gear and to test it out, but I don't think that's going to happen. I also do have a bass Epiphone. It's black, 4-string. Let's actually give that a listen and see what that sounds like. Terrible. I played that bass back in grade 6 and 7 when I was still in school. obviously. Don't know why I had to explain that. And really never learned a lot with it, which I think is pretty obvious. I also do have, as far as electronics go, I've got a couple of IK multimedia stuff, which they make wonderful computer interface MIDI controllers and stuff. I've got an iRig keys and iRig pads, and yeah, they're really great, and I use them with Sample Tank 3. I'm still trying to figure out their amplitude stuff, which I really don't get. But eventually I'll figure it out. In addition to that, I've got a Hercules compact. Oh, which you can see right here. It's a Hercules DJ Control compact with 2 decks. Check out the stickers. Probably will show up backwards, but it says, "This man ate my son," and it's a picture of Ted Cruz. So I use that as well. I also have a Stanton T62 M2 turntable, which I use for scratching, which will be, again, eclectic ass project. What else do I have? I've got a Yamaha PSS 488, an old keyboard from like the 80s, and that's a lot of fun. And I only recently figured out how to make something sound good with it, so that's interesting. And then I've also got a couple of weird instruments, like a little melodica, which is basically like a harmonica with a tube and a keyboard on it. So it's like a harmonica piano. And then additionally I've got a Cura, which I will show you. I've put up pictures of it before in like little demo videos. Ugh, it's horribly out of tune right now. I do have extra strings that I'm going to change probably soon. But it is a neat little instrument. It weighs like 2 pounds. It's a fucking feather, really. And this is more recent, but I got a Korg Monotron Dual. Which can be hooked up to, see, I could hook it up to either my pedals, any of my pedals, and it'll play through that. It's got its own little speaker. There's a monotron delay that you can, run one through the other, which is really cool. I don't have it, but I would love to get it. I also have a Xenix 802 mixer. That's what I'm recording this on right now, and just my phone for a camera, because it's a pretty decent camera. And what else can I tell you? And it's just a Behringer UCA 22. Is that right? UCA 222 interface that goes from the mixer to my laptop via USB connection. So, when the rig is all set up, it's fairly impressive, I will say myself. And that's not just because it's mine. I have become a bit of a gear nerd, so that's pretty fun. What else can I tell you guys? I've got 2 people with me on this project. My good friend Josh Pope, who's got his own kind of music project. He's got 2 kids now, so he's very busy. And he would be on a guitar and bass, but also a lot of guidance, because he knows way more than I do, and production end of things as well. And additionally, I've got Camara LeBlanc, who's a good friend as well. She's a phenomenal singer, and she'll be providing female vocals, obviously, and probably some guitar and a few other things as well. She's a multi instrumentalist, that one, and you may know her if you listen to the podcast. She, I think, was my first interview, and my second was Devin Townsend. Quite the jump. I'll show you a quick visual. Ugh. So, here you go. That's the Ocean Machine. That is the RP155. Please ignore the Apple Core. There's my mixer. There's my laptop, which, believe me, is running right now. Ignore the mess in the back. Yeah, what can I tell you? I hope to make a lot of money. No, a lot of stuff with this project, and I hope to do some really cool things. And I'm excited to do a lot more and to have some time to actually work on it, which I will have this weekend and this coming weekend. Being a long weekend. I took a couple of extra days off. Isn't that nice for me? It sure is. So I'll have some time to record some stuff and get a lot of bed tracks. Look at me talking like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Some bed tracks down. And yeah, I hope you guys are interested to hear it. Thanks.